Happy Friday, you guys. And for those who celebrate Juneteenth, happy Juneteenth to you guys. I want to take a few moments. I'm here a little bit early because the grandkiddos are over and family is first for me. So I just wanted to hop on before they decide that they want my attention. So, have you ever noticed that the things you care about most can sometimes become the reasons you stay exactly where you're at? Think about it for a second. The very thing you're trying to protect, the very thing you're fighting for, the very thing you say matters most can sometimes become the reason you never take a step forward. I was thinking about this recently because I hear people say things like, I don't have enough time. My schedule's too busy. I've got too much on my plate. I've heard people say I have family responsibilities. I have people depending on me. And here's what's interesting. These aren't bad reasons. They're not bad reasons at all. Those aren't excuses people make. How you say? They aren't excuses that make people that they're lazy. It's not those type of reasons. Those are real reasons. But sometimes responsible reasons become permanent reasons. And that's where people get stuck, in my opinion. Because what they're really saying is, I'll look at it later. I'll think about it later. I don't have time. I'll focus on what that it's just I'll just look at it when life slows down. But let me ask you something. When exactly does life slow down? Because from what I've seen, life doesn't send us an email. Life doesn't send us an email saying, congratulations, everything is now perfectly organized. You may now pursue your goals. It don't happen that way. There's always something. Another responsibility, another bill, another obligation. There's always something, you guys. Another challenge, another reason to wait. And if you're not careful, waiting can become a habit. It's not because we lack ambition, not because we don't care, not because we don't want something better, but because we convince ourselves that our circumstances have to become absolutely perfect before we can take action. And I think this is especially true for people who feel like everyone depends on them. Maybe you're helping care for a parent, or like me, the grandkids are in another room sleeping. Or maybe you're rebuilding after a layoff. Maybe you're rebuilding after a loss. Maybe you're rebuilding after a major life change, a traumatic experience. Maybe you're working a full-time job and wonder if there's a better way to create flexibility in the future. Maybe you're the person everybody calls when they need help. You're responsible. You're dependable. You're the one who figures things out. You're the go-to. Hey, Panda. You're the one who shows up. You're the one who handles everything. Sounds kind of weighty, but I know that feeling. But somewhere along the way, you stop giving yourself permission to explore what might be possible for you. The challenge is that people carrying the most responsibilities are often the people who need more options the most. Yet, they're also the people most likely to say, now isn't the right time. Maybe later. I'll look at it when things calm down. The problem is that life is a way of keeping us busy. And before we know it, months turn into years. Have you ever caught yourself doing that? I mean, it's like, wait a minute, I'll do that tomorrow. What happened? It's 2 weeks from now. You're wanting something different, wanting more flexibility, wanting more control over your time, wanting more options, but immediately talking yourself out of even exploring what might be available. Not because you don't want the change, but because you've convinced yourself your current circumstances won't allow it, because you're too busy, because you got responsibilities, etc., etc. And here's what I've learned personally. Sometimes the question isn't, why can't I? Sometimes the better question is, what if this is exactly what and why I should take a look? Not commit. Good morning, Charmaine. Not quit your job. Not make a major life change. Just take a look. Because the things people are saying, the people's, how do you say it? Because the things people say are stopping them are often the very things that's trying to improve them. They want more flexibility, but they say they don't have time. They want more options, but they say they're too busy. You get where I'm going? They want more control of their future, but they tell themselves now isn't the right season. They want a different future, but they keep waiting for a different present. And that's the trap. The trap is believing that conditions have to change before we can move forward. But many times, movement is what helps create the change. The most successful people I've met didn't wait for the perfect season, they just jumped. They made a decision during busy seasons, during uncertain seasons, during challenging seasons. They made decisions because they understood something important. Opportunity rarely arrives when it's convenient. I know there were seasons in my own life where I thought I needed everything figured out first. I thought I needed more certainty. Yep. I thought I needed more confidence, more answers. What about the proof? I needed those receipts, y'all. I needed it. But what I realized is that clarity often comes after action, not before it. It's funny, I don't know how to swim, but it's like jumping off the deep end, they say, Most people are waiting to feel ready. Yeah, I know what you mean, Charmaine. But very few people ever feel ready. They simply become willing to ask a question, willing to have a conversation, just taking that chance, willing to explore, be curious. That's it. Willing to learn. willing to consider that there may be options they haven't looked at before. And that's where, in my opinion, growth starts. The curiosity makes it happen, not the certainty, just the simple curiosity. And let me be clear, I'm not saying every opportunity is right. I'm not saying that every option is worth pursuing. What I'm saying is that dismissing an option before you ever looked at it may be costing you possibilities you didn't know existed. Being curious costs very little, but I can tell you what costs a lot, and that's regret. So if you've been telling yourself, maybe later, or I ain't gonna go down the long list. I just want you to ask yourself one question. What if the reason you've been waiting is actually the reason you should not? What if the responsibility you're carrying exactly why you need more options? What if the schedule you're trying to manage is exactly why flexibility matters? What if, just what if, the people you're trying to serve are the reason why you should stop putting yourself last? I don't know what that looks like for you, but I do know this. Sometimes your why isn't stopping you. Sometimes your interpretation of your why is what's stopping you. See, my grandkids in the other room, and I'm still sleepy, and I could have let that stop me, but I got up a little earlier and I did that. See, just giving y'all to paint the picture. The people who create extraordinary results aren't always the people with the most time. They're often the people who decide their future is worth making time for. Don't let your reason become your excuse. Don't let your responsibility become your limitation. And don't let your why become your why nots. Before I go, I love to hear from you. What's one thing you've been telling yourself you'll do later? Drop it in the comments and let's talk about it. Thank you, Charmaine. Thank y'all for watching. And y'all know what time it is. It's time to have a phenomenal day on purpose.